So it turns out that the dragon that died last week was Viserion and not Rhaegal, but Rhaegal is a green dragon, and that dragon looked green to me, so my bad, or rather the creators coloring bad. It's the season finale of Game of Thrones, and we are not going to go into every single scene like we used to in every single episode. We're going to talk about the top things that happen here, the most important things, and we're going to give an overall view to this season. And so we start off with the Lannisters meeting with Targaryens and Lannisters and Hounds and all sorts of people who are on the side of Daenerys, and they have kind of a troubled meeting, but I like these character moments with Brienne and Jaime, Brienne and a Hound, and all sorts of these meetings, even with Tyrion and Bronn, with some meetings reconciling the relationship between these characters, and some other meetings not going so well. And they start off with trying to appeal to Cersei's reasoning, until Daenerys comes in with an awesome entrance on top of Drogon, and then they talk. Again, they try to reason with Cersei, and they show her the White who goes right at her, tries to attack her, and we see the shock in everyone's face, even Cersei. And throughout this whole scene, I gotta congratulate the dialogue on the part of the writers and the acting on everyone's part, especially Kit Harington and Lena Headey. They were tremendous in this scene, and we have this sort of satisfying confrontation for us who have followed the series so long between Jon Snow and Cersei Lannister. And it's more important to me in this scene what they don't say rather than what they do say. These two have so much against each other that I love that they keep everything in and they just focus on what's important. Because now Cersei sees reasoning, and she was actually very reasonable in this scene. I was surprised. Of course, that was explained later in the episode, but damn if Lena Headey didn't convince me. I thought it was strange, but she did convince me that she was seeing reason in what Daenerys and Jon were showing and telling her. But then comes a moment when Cersei asks Jon to not choose a side and to stand aside of this war as she and Daenerys possibly team up to take on the White Walkers, and Jon says no, and he is honest about what he has done. He has bent the knee to Daenerys. However, I really did not agree with him being so honest until the moment when Tyrion confronts him and he's like, I made an oath. If I made an oath, I gotta stay true to it. One thing is to talk to somebody, maybe give a little white lie here and there, but when you swear an oath, it's something completely different and something that has stakes onto it. And so Cersei walks away, she has given up on the team up, until Tyrion goes and talks to her. And this scene is one of my favorites of the season, if not of the past 3, 4, 5, 7 seasons of the show. Tyrion talking to Cersei. They're basically exploding at each other and throwing truths at each other's face until Tyrion is tired of this. He cannot handle this. He's very stressed, and so he picks up a glass of wine, drinks it all in one gulp, serves one to Cersei, and then he finds out that she is pregnant. However, I still call bullshit on that, because yes, she might be telling the truth, because if she was lying, why would she bother hinting Tyrion with that rub of the belly? But at the same time, if you are giving a lie and you want to make it believable, you are not just going to lie to one person. So Tyrion appeals to her. Apparently we have this sweet moment between Daenerys and Jon about what they have done, what they should do. They have this very heart-to-heart talk, and Tyrion comes back with Cersei, and Cersei agrees finally to the team up. They will face the White Walkers together so they can stand a chance. And this is all very satisfying, this is all very fun and dandy, but then, later in the episode, Cersei reveals to Jaime that she has tricked them all. She's just going to stand back and let the others face the White Walkers up to the north. She is going to lay down on her bed, drink some delicious glass of wine, and wait for it all to come through and just take on the winner of that little war that they are facing in the north. And she basically expels Jaime. She doesn't trust Jaime anymore. Jaime is furious at her because Jaime is the one who does see reasoning in this. And he had that confrontation with Brienne earlier about fucking loyalty, and it was a foreshadow onto this. And I love that they did so. And when we see Jaime leave the lighting and the weather, they are completely different. And this is such beautiful symbolism because as soon as Jaime is leaving, one of the strongest bonds we have ever known in Game of Thrones, twisted or not, is broken. And he and Cersei are no longer on the same side of the chessboard, and Jaime is, my guess, leaving towards either the north or maybe Dragonstone if he can get there and he knows how to get there. He covers up his hand and we see snow falling on King's Landing. That's not something you see every day. That's not something you see ever. That's something we've heard characters talk about that happened before, but we have never seen it, and brings such a great new dimension to the show and really shows us that things are going to get dready. We have the scene of Littlefinger manipulating Sansa into his side and trying to completely break another bond between her and Arya, and then we come to the trial. Arya is about to be judged by Sansa, and then finally, what I wanted to happen, what made sense to happen because of who these characters are, happened. Sansa accuses Littlefinger. We find out the whole truths that maybe people who just watch a show didn't know, that Littlefinger was the one who made Lysa Arryn kill Jon Arryn, who forged the letter to make the Starks believe that the Lannisters had killed Jon Arryn. Then he's the one who killed Lysa that we saw on the show, and he has conspired to break apart these two sisters. But now with Bran, maybe because it wasn't made too clear, they have found out the truth, and Baelish just goes down to his knees. He starts crying. He starts trying to appeal to Sansa's heart, and Sansa's like, I'm a slow learner, but I learn things very well. Cersei has taught me things. We have seen that throughout the season with her whole mentality, and now she is deciding to run the North. And Baelish, over anyone else in my opinion, has taught her very well. And so Arya steps up to him with the dagger that he tried to give to Bronn, the dagger that he gave the assassin to kill Bronn, the dagger that he pointed to Ned Stark's throat when he betrayed him in King's Landing in Season 1, and she cuts his throat, and Baelish is dead. Amazing. Love this scene, love the somber tone, and love how they swerved us. I honestly did believe that these sisters would break apart. Not because I wanted to, but because they did such a good job in writing and acting, and not necessarily that I agree with it or that I liked it, but in terms of writing a narrative and all, it was well written, and I believed that they were going to break them apart. I did not believe for a second that Arya would die or that she would go to a cell or something, but I did believe that they were going to break apart. Arya was going to run away and whatnot, but I am so happy that they didn't. I'm so happy that Baelish is dead. I'm so happy that this threat is now done with. We don't need this threat anymore. And above anything else, besides Arya, it shows the growth of Sansa, and it shows that the most frustrating scenes with this character in this season, trying to negate all the development she had last season where she grew so much and I started to love her character so much, has come to fruition. I love Sansa Stark. I love the character progression she had, and it really came through in this episode. And now Sam has come back to Winterfell. He is going to see Bronn, and they start talking, and we find out that Jon is a Sand, which sucked to me at the moment. But then Sam tells Bronn that Rhaegar married Lyanna, and Bran goes into this vision and he sees the wedding. It was official. They got married. He did not rape Lyanna. He did not kidnap her. Everything about Robert's Rebellion is a lie, and Jon is the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, born Aegon Targaryen, not Jaehaerys, Aegon Targaryen, which in a way kind of tells me that he might die by the last episode of the show, and I don't want that, but I might be wrong. I have no reason to think this, but I do think this. And this was tremendous visual. I just love that these characters, once they are truthful to each other, once everything comes out that they have been holding in or hiding from someone else, we just see it happening, and it's so gratifying. Not necessarily that it's not predictable, that's not what I'm talking about. Predictability is not necessarily bad for me. I think it's gratifying when you are certain or almost certain of something, and that something comes into visual form, and it's just satisfying to see. Just like last week, I knew the dragon was going to be turned into a White Walker dragon, I guess, and it was satisfying to see nonetheless. But it's a beautifully shot scene. It's great that we see these characters, finally two characters telling everything they know and they need to tell to anyone. They finally tell it to someone else and we see the truth coming out. But just as we see the truth coming out, aunt and nephew start doing it. Jon just walks up to Daenerys' room, he closes the door, and we have this somber look on Tyrion's face. I'm not sure what that is about. Not sure if he's in love with Daenerys, not sure if he knows or suspects that he is a Targaryen and he doesn't want this to happen. Not sure if he thinks this will distract them, but I kind of am a sick individual for loving it. I kind of want this. I want Jon Targaryen, or Aegon Targaryen, or Jaehaerys Targaryen, and Daenerys Targaryen to become one. I guess that's too corny. I mean, have sex. They are having sex and it's awesome. And finally, two of my favorite characters have come together, not only on the sidelines of war, but also in their own beliefs, and they have finally come to fruition in fulfilling an old Targaryen tradition, and it's awesome. It just is awesome. And once more, what I thought was going to happen did happen. Not exactly the last shot, but the wall has finally come down. The White Walkers start coming into the wall, the huge army that they have, with Tormund and Beric looking on, and they are just, oh shit, they are here, we're going to have to fight them. No, you're not, because a fucking white dragon with blue fire has come in with the Night King on his back, and he's exploding with the wall, and everything is crumbling down, everyone starts to run, and right now, we are not sure if Tormund and Beric are dead. Everyone else might be because they were just extras, but I would possibly bet that Beric dies, but Tormund doesn't, because I just want to see Tormund fight one more day, or at least be reunited with Brienne one more day. This whole scene, again, it's satisfying to see it actually happening. I knew the wall was coming down, I knew we were going to see a dragon spit out blue fire, but it's extremely satisfying to see it happening actually in TV, in the show. The wall comes down and the White Walkers start walking in, and we see the dragon flying over and in front of them, and they're heading to Winterfell. Winterfell is going to be the first stop, and everyone is fucked, like Jon Snow says earlier in the episode. I love this episode. I absolutely, unabashedly love this episode. It's one of my top 5 episodes on the show overall. In the season, we had a few dead moments. We had a few episodes where nothing happened, like Eastwatch, but everything was progressing. In episode 3, which I couldn't review, we had a lot of moving pieces. So nothing necessarily in the action department happened, but we had a lot of things happening constantly. Everything kept on moving. We had battles here that we didn't necessarily see, but they progressed to show. Because what's interesting about this show is the politics, is the characters, is the relationships, is the allegiances. And we saw all that. The scene with them meeting earlier in this episode symbolizes all of that. It shows what is great about this show. I do not think this is as good of a season as last season, but I think it's one of the best seasons. It's maybe top 3 seasons in Game of Thrones history. I love this season. I love how much we progressed. We had fewer episodes and we had to be fast. And they were fast. Sure, they had fast travel. I really do not care. Honestly, it didn't bother me. It's something I feel, or in this case, don't feel, and I cannot lie or control that. So if it didn't bother me, I cannot say it bothered me because it didn't. We had a lot of great character progression. Tyrion, Cersei, Jaime, Jon, Daenerys, Jorah, even Davos, the Hound, Tormund, Sansa and Arya, and even Bronn and Sam. Everyone had something to do in the season. Everyone that mattered had something to do in the season that mattered, that they displayed that here. The writing is still tremendous for this show. And the visuals, the directing in these episodes are top notch. This show, again, it belongs on the silver screen. You don't see this type of directing and visuals on TV. Game of Thrones proves once more why it's one of the best shows on TV. Not my favorite season, but nonetheless, season 7 of Game of Thrones is the stuff that dreams are made of. What did you think of this season of Game of Thrones, my beautiful geekies? What are your expectations for next season? What do you want to see happening? And what do you expect to see in the very first episode as soon as next season in 2019 kicks off. Let me know in the comments below, let me know what you thought of this episode, of the season in general. What did you like? What didn't you like? Thank you so much for watching, my beautiful Geekies, and accompanying me in this journey of Game of Thrones for 7 weeks. You guys are the freaking best. I love you all so much. I can't wait to come back next season. And this week I have reviews for American Made and Inhumans, as well as a Force Friday haul on Friday. Stay tuned for that. And until then, you stay beautiful, you stay geeky, and if you haven't done so yet, click the subscribe button and the bell so you can be geeky united!